Humans have a remarkable talent for intellectual gymnastics. When a rule becomes inconvenient, we rarely break it outright. Instead, we look for the gray area, a clever workaround that keeps our hands clean on paper while giving us exactly what we want. We see it every day. A bribe is rebranded as a gift. Extortionate interest rates become profit margins. A blatant lie is smoothed over as a marketing technique. If we change the label, we excuse the behavior. This kind of slick rebranding might hold up in a human courtroom, but taking that same legalistic mindset and trying to outsmart the divine leads to devastating spiritual consequences. This panoramic view captures the geography of Isla, an ancient, blessed coastal settlement. Centuries ago, a protected tribe of Bani Israel lived along these shores, surrounded by cool ocean winds and abundant resources. Their survival depended on the sea, but their covenant demanded strict discipline. They were given a single absolute rule: the Sabbath. From Friday sunset to Saturday night, all worldly work, especially their livelihood of fishing, had to stop completely for a day of pure worship. But then came the complication. Sunday through Friday, the waters were entirely barren. The nets came up empty. But the moment the Sabbath began, the water would boil violently at the surface, teeming with massive fat fish. The catch they desperately needed was suddenly leaping out of the water, practically throwing itself onto the shoreline, precisely on the one day they were forbidden to touch it. The sudden abundance forced a choice: honor an invisible covenant, or seize the tangible wealth swimming within reach. As the weeks dragged on, frustration set in. Slowly, the quiet reverence of the town was replaced by whispers. They needed a way out, a solution that wouldn't technically violate the law. Their plan was dangerously simple. Late Friday, fishermen dug trenches and staked nets. On Saturday, high tide pushed fish inland. The receding tide trapped them behind nets, completely untouched by human hands. Come Sunday morning, townspeople casually gathered the trapped catch, no active fishing required. They threw feasts and celebrated their own brilliance. To their minds, their hands were clean. They hadn't cast a single line or lifted a single net during the forbidden hours. They observed the strict letter of the law while completely obliterating its purpose. They had successfully confused a technicality with actual innocence. This intellectual dishonesty fractured the entire community, splitting Ayla into three sharply divided factions. First were the architects of the loophole. Wealthy and well-fed, they gorged on their catches, mocking anyone who refused to utilize their new system. Opposing them was a small minority of resistors. They stood in the streets and warned their neighbors that God is not a bureaucrat. A loophole does not magically excuse a sin. And stuck in the middle were the bystanders. They were the silent majority who refused to eat the tainted fish, but also refused to speak up. They watched the moral decay happen in real time. The resistors maintained one clear argument: true obedience requires inner integrity. You cannot maneuver your way out of a divine command with legal trickery. As the arrogance of the transgressors grew, the resistors knew a consequence was inevitable. Desperate, they physically built a wall through the center of town as night fell, sealing themselves off from the sinners. When the moral fabric of a society tears, passive silence offers no protection. The righteous realized they had no choice but to literally walk away from the deception. The next morning, a heavy silence hung over the city. When the resistors climbed their wall to look over at the other side, the tricksters were entirely gone. Down in the empty streets, there were no humans left. The transgressors had been physically transformed into apes. They sat in the dirt, still wearing their human clothes, weeping in despair. The tragedy was absolute. They retained full human consciousness. They recognized their relatives over the wall, pointing and crying, perfectly aware of what they had done, but permanently trapped inside the bodies of animals. A monkey is defined by mimicry, replicating human gestures and rituals while remaining entirely detached from the meaning behind them. The people of Isla had treated God's law the exact same way. They performed the outward motions of obedience without carrying a shred of the soul behind it. By reducing their faith to mindless mimicry,
they were physically reduced to the very animals that defined it. The Ashab al-Sabt attempted to treat the Creator as a system that could be gamed through legal fine print. The divine does not grade us on technicalities or read the legal fine print of our actions. The judgment rests entirely on the naked intentions of our hearts. We have to audit our own daily routines. Where are we digging trenches on a Friday night? Where are we proudly maintaining technical compliance while acting spiritually bankrupt? True integrity always means abandoning the shortcuts. You can spin a narrative for the world, but you can never outsmart the truth. Where do you see this illusion of compliance today? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit the like button, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape us.